All right, Target released their earnings report. So we're asking, did the boycotts work? All right. Now, not just did the boycotts work, we're also going to show the receipts. All right, what's up, people? Welcome to the Black Wolf Rebel. This is an emergency episode. I've been dying to talk about this for months now. Ever since the boycott rolled out, we've done a couple episodes talking about boycotts, how they going, how they played a pivotal role in the Black community. But it's 2025 now. They're a little bit different. But what's up, fellas? How y'all doing today?
Man, we good, man. You know, you got us back on here. You'll be doing double duty today, man.
Hey, man, listen, man. Our work never ends.
Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
And I got my black hoodie energy going on.
See, that's why. I took my black hoodie off, and now Kamari put his on. Kamari,
hey, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. That means we're all gathered. We got a quorum.
I can go get the black hoodie. I just took it off.
Yeah, you probably burned it up. All right, so listen, Target released their earnings, and I thought it was really interesting because we just did another episode, our Money Church episode, where we talked about qualitative and quantitative analysis. If you haven't watched that, go back and check it out. And before we get too far into this, we got to give a salute to our sponsor, Suplmnt. Suplmnt is our sponsor. If you go and check out Suplmnt, y'all know I love Suplmnt. I just had to get another round of coffee. That's why it took me a minute to get back. So my coffee stays hot. I was telling Jimmy the other day, it was either Tuesday, I believe it was.
Wednesday, man.
No, it was Tuesday, wasn't it?
No,
so we went to the Juvenile Justice Center here in Philly to preach to the youth, to sow into the youth. I poured a cup of coffee at 7:30 in the morning. 1:30 in the afternoon, it was still warm. I don't know what else to tell you. Now, this is the tumbler. Jimmy's got the water bottle. So they say that stay cold for like 24 hours, too.
Hey, listen, it's right here, man. By the way, man, show the folks how to actually get this, man.
Absolutely. All you got to do is go to, where did I put the link? See, this is the benefit of going live. Go to Get Suplmnt, GetSupplement.com. Go to GetSupplement.com, and you can be the proud owner of one of these beautiful.
Listen, man. First of all, we support our own. So Suplmnt is a Black-owned organization, and their product is a quality product. So please go to GetSupplement.com. That's our sponsor of today's show. So we definitely thank them for their support of the Black Wolf Rebels, because this helps us, our goal of supporting Black businesses amongst everything else that we got going on. So, I want to say thank you, Suplmnt, for that. And shout out to everybody who's back here for a second time, because like Lorraine just said, right, twice in one day. And
Don Johnson's in the building too. Don and Lorraine, folks love this stuff, man. Folks love it. All right, so let's get to the numbers. Target's numbers, and I wasn't able to put these all on a pretty PowerPoint the way I wanted to, but Target had sales of $23.8 billion. Now, that was down 2.8% from the Q1 of last year, Q1 of 2024. Now, the comparable sales were also down 3.8%. So that's basically what did they do overall last year over year. With in-store sales dropped about 5.7%. Now, here's the juicy part. Digital sales were up 4.7%. Again, digital sales were up 4.7%, driven by a 36% increase in same-day delivery via Target Circle. So what does that tell us, everybody? Because everybody's been saying the Target, and I guess I should paint the context a little bit. Pastor Brian called for a 40-day fast from Target to say everybody to not support Target because they roll back DEI initiatives. Cool, I get it. A lot of people are rolling back now. Shout out to Costco, because they said FOH, we're going to keep ours in, and we kept rocking, and they kept rocking, and their stock's up as a result of that. Now, however, people are like, we're going to divest from Target. But when you look at those numbers, it don't look like they divested from anything.
So here's what's interesting. It looks like people like y'all not gonna catch me walking in Target, but I'm gonna still get this merchandise.
Get these Target bars off. I'm just not getting them off of the store. You will not see me at Target, but I am going shopping at Target. Like people slick with it. They funny. People funny. Like so they not going to Target, but they still buying from Target. They still getting they goods. They still getting the goods from Target.
Yeah. Now, so, I mean, it's funny when you go through. Now, Jimmy talked about this. I told everybody to just, all you got to do to really start doing deep dives and analyzing companies is go and get the transcript of the earnings call, run it through ChatGPT, and they will summarize it and analyze it for you. And that's what I did. And that's why we were able to put this show together so fast, right? I did that, ran through it. And it's funny when you look at the earnings call, they talked about three things as being a potential problem. China and tariffs were one of them, right? They're putting a squeeze on margins at the stores. That's a problem. The last one that wasn't really mentioned was boycotts. Now, again, it impacted in-store sales a little bit, but the digital is still picking up. So what does that tell us? It's not 1954 with the Montgomery bus boycotts, which I think are really important. I think boycotts work to a certain degree. But if that's the only bullet you got in your chamber of your gun, it doesn't work with the same impact. So you got to be creative now. You got to be more nimble.
Intentional. While shopping with your own folk.
Yes. And that's not as sexy. That's not as sexy as saying, oh, I'm going to boycott. But maybe if we start putting that energy into saying, we're going to shop with our people, we're going to shop with Black-owned businesses, because when we shop with a Black-owned business intentional, it one helps drive our revenue, which that revenue then helps create a more stronger business base to increase employment in the Black community. When you look at the numbers, Black unemployment is usually double that than national unemployment. That tells us something. And the biggest employers of Black people outside of the government, Jimmy and them might say, are Black people. Some people might say UPS too, or Walmart, but I haven't seen any data for that.
Or Rockin' You Meat. All right, so here's what I'll say, right? It's a couple of things with this. I think that, so I kind of changed my perspective on this, right? Because the one thing I think that we lack is the ability to organize. So if people are going to organize over a boycott, I think that's
yeah, that's good. That's good news.
Overall, a good thing, right? So I'm not necessarily opposed to boycotts, but what I do believe is this, though. I do believe that we need to organize over other things as well, right? One of the reasons that I don't mind coming on and talking about finance or whatever is because it's, for one, where my expertise lies, but also I think it's a different way of organizing, right? We can organize over this conversation, but then it allows us to then have a community to have other conversations that are just as important, if not more important. But when it comes to this Target thing, I think there's a lot of lessons from this for me, in terms of how it started, the information that was put out there during the boycott. I think we also, and it's funny because our earlier class was about quantitative versus qualitative information. I think that a lot of times, like I was saying during that class, people run with these narratives from a qualitative standpoint and never back it up with the quantitative data. So when we're telling a story about whether the boycotts work, we have to be honest, right? And some people, after like 2 weeks, were like, these boycotts are working, the stock is down. And it's like, we're not being honest, right?
And traffic is down, foot traffic is down.
If we're going to be honest, we have to use like real quantitative information and have these conversations and really approach it, be more strategic. You know, we got to plan, plot, and strategize and be very strategic about how we move, but we have to be honest. We got to be honest from a quantitative standpoint. What are the numbers actually saying? Even if the numbers don't go the way we think they should go or they are going, we still have to be honest about that. Okay, so how do we get to where we're supposed to be going from a quantitative standpoint? So I think, to me, that's one of the bigger lessons in this, because I've seen a lot of conversation online, even offline, about the success of the boycotts, but they're not using any data to back that up. It's just feelings. Like, I feel like this is working. I feel like, you know, Pastor such and such, and I'm not talking about Pastor Brian because a lot of pastors jump behind it. Told me that this is working and this is doing well. I'm saying, so what do the numbers say? Well, I don't know what the numbers say. I just know I feel good. Okay, way to feel good, you know. But what do the actual numbers say? We gotta, like, you know, again, both things are important.
So with the numbers that quantitatively that foot traffic is down, there's no doubt about that. Black people are not getting caught inside of Targets, but it doesn't say that Target still made money. They just didn't make as much money as they made last year. So it also says,
is that based on the economy or is it based on the boycott? Right, because again, foot traffic again. Well,
yeah.
But is it also? But also, I think we'll come back to your question in a minute, Jim, because I don't want to miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really making an impact at the money that they did live if we want to assume that all this decline is based on the lack of Black traffic? I mean, because that's the question that I don't think we asked, like how many Black people are even going to Target before this even started? How much of the pie is made up from that?
So quantitatively, it's saying that if Black people don't go to your store, you're going to be down on foot traffic X amount, right? Because Black people make up a certain percentage of people that go to Target. You know what I mean? Whatever percentage that is, Target is seeing some effect from that, which is why they're even talking to Pastor Jamal Bryant and because they're not seeing any effect, they wouldn't even talk to dude.
So my thing is that may be more qualitative than quantitative, because here's something that no one else talks about. Walmart's foot traffic is down, right? Like Walmart's foot traffic is down just as much as Target's. So is that based on this? You know what I mean? Like, so this is what I mean by we have to be honest, right? We can't just look in a vacuum and say foot traffic is down, this is that and the third, so this is what's wrong, right? Let's be honest. Let's look at let's really do some analysis and not just move off of emotion, I guess is what I'm really pointing to, right? You know, let's talk about facts, not just feelings.
I mean, that's actually a great point, Jimmy, because what I actually should have did, maybe I'll do it real quick, is I should have compared Walmart's earnings call to Target's earnings call and see if there was anything in alignment, because allegedly, allegedly, Walmart's supposed to be part of this boycott, Target's supposed to be part of this boycott, and Amazon's supposed to be part of this boycott. But I don't really think anything's moving the needle. But before we get into this, let's get to this.
Right on the side, Costco's foot traffic is down too. Not as much, but it is down, right? The point is, foot traffic is down everywhere. I think that's the overall point between what's going on with the economy, the tariffs, all these things. Foot traffic is down everywhere. But I think from a branding standpoint, like their brand has been affected, which is more of a qualitative and not quantitative situation. But
But who has the brand been impacted by? I mean, who is it down with? I don't know that white people care about DEI rollbacks.
I don't know that most Black people care.
That's a fact. And I don't know that Target's Black customer base makes up 14% of their customers, meaning that it's equal to that of the United States of America.
Well, also, we don't have as much money to spend overall as a community. Correct. So we really want to go down the rabbit hole.
That's the thing that people don't understand. Our economy is about $22-23 trillion every year spent, and Black people only spend about $2 trillion a day. So you're talking about we're a little less than 1/10 of the total economy.
But set me off from my whole Black buying power rant, because we don't even spend that. That's what we have available based on. I don't want to get.
I'm
into
just
that.
saying.
But what I'm saying is we don't have that money to spend either. That's something that people put out there as a number that's not even true about what we have to spend. That's a falsehood too. We don't have that money, right? We don't have trillions of dollars of spending power. I don't care what your favorite guru tells you on the internet. That's factually not true. But that's a whole side note. Your point overall is true, Corey, that from a percentage standpoint, we don't make up that much, which is why they can do things that, seemingly can harm us. Say, hey, we're not going to do that, because how's it really going to affect them? Which is why Kamari's point overall is let's take a different approach and just support our folks, because then you don't have to worry about some of the things we're talking about that are just objectively true, right? Which is whatever money we do have, can we allocate that over here, right? Whatever we have, can we allocate it over here? But the fact of the matter is a lot of numbers that people throw out in terms of our buying power are all actually is really psychological warfare. If I tell you that you got $5 trillion of spending power and the reason you're not successful is because you're not spending with your own people and you have this $5 trillion. We start to look inward and blame ourselves instead of blaming the powers that be in governments that don't allow us to have that wealth that they say we have, which we don't have. So I think that's also part of the problem. But to Kamari's point, if we just focus on what we need to be focusing on, then the whole idea of do we need to boycott and do that, none of that will really matter if we really take our time and go out of our way to support those that support us.
So I just ran the numbers for Walmart. Walmart pulled in a hefty $165.6 billion in revenue, up 2.5% from last year. Jeez, that's paper. The U.S. sales climbed 3.2%, with e-commerce popping off at 22% growth rate. Damn. Sam's Club also flexed with a 6% rise in same-store sales. So foot traffic ain't down everywhere.
Yeah, no, their actual foot traffic, I saw that their foot traffic number did decrease, but they still making $1 gazillion. But here's the thing about Walmart. Walmart is one of the best run businesses there are. Their scale is incomparable because Walmart, I think it's like every hour in 16 minutes they make $100 million. Something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. Because Walmart and Amazon are on a totally different scale than everybody else.
It's hard to compete with them. But anyway, let's get to David. Shout out to Dave, man. Our brother Diamond Dave, legend. Do you think they will admit the boycotts are harming sales, or can we track store foot traffic and sales and see if there is any correlation? Right. So that's the other part. Will they ever admit it? Even if it is true, will they admit it?
No, anyway? Great question. I don't think they'll admit it. That's why you got to dig through the data. And there was 3 points that they made. Going back to Target, that is, there were 3 points that they made. China and tariffs, consumer confidence. So consumer confidence has fallen across the board, and they have been worried about the boycott headwinds. But again, to what Jimmy said, it seems like they were only really concerned about the brand reputation, not necessarily the dollar impact. And there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, but I think that and the other thing that's interesting about Target, when you look at their story, right? And we talked earlier about from a qualitative standpoint, like management, how management is impacted. When you read through a lot of the information about Target, a lot of people aren't happy with the CEO, right? And some of the decisions that he's made at the helm in terms of leading the company, and he's already put in his papers for retirement. So some will say it's voluntarily, but other people are saying when they see the overall what's going on with the company that it may or may not have been. But either way, he's going to retire with a hefty fortune. But so we'll see that change and see how that impacts how they behave moving forward. But that idea of brand value, I think I could see that taking a hit in terms of their brand value within certain sectors, because certain people don't care either. Right. As long as you got the deal and the product I want, the people will buy from their worst enemy at the right number. Correct. Listen, Theodore DiBiase told me as a kid that everybody has a price. So I learned that very early on. I learned it very early on, man.
That was Ted DiBiase's name, man.
I know. $1 million man. Everybody has a price, man, and he wasn't lying. So it was lessons in that. So shout out to Lorraine Miss Malley. Even though online sales were up, that didn't make up for the in-store sales. If the online sale was so great, why did they meet with the boycott leaders?
Let's not conflate, though. Listen, Jamal Bryant, what's old boy? I can't think of his name. Who looks like James Brown? What's the other pastor? Sharpton. Thank you. They can get meetings with anybody, right? And when you have this boycott, that makes it even more plausible for it to happen. But that don't mean possible or positive impacts came out of those meetings. I mean, of course you can get a meeting, but what came out of it? Are they going to hire more black folks?
That could be like just passive. It really has anything to do with numbers per se. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could just be them trying to worry about the brand, not necessarily what the numbers are saying. Because again, here's a question. Let's just be honest. Let's just be completely honest. If all black people today said we're never going to Target again, would Target go out of business?
Nope.
I mean, that's just a fact, just based on just numbers. Right?
And they still be reckoning billions.
Yo, it's funny, right? You brought up James Brown. Have you guys watched the? It's a documentary series. It's on Apple TV. It's called Number One on the roll sheet. or the call sheet. Or a call sheet. You ever seen that? So it's a documentary series. It's by Jamie Foxx, Kevin Hart. I put together this where they talk to black actors and black women and men and women black actors, right? There's one episode that focuses all on the men, another episode focuses on women. They talk about like getting to the point of being number one on the call sheet and what it means for their careers. And what you said made me think about it. So Eddie Murphy is on there talking, and he's talking about his success, how fast it happened, and how wealthy he got, and really him having no one to get guidance from our community. He said, so one of the only other wealthy people at that time was James Brown. He said, so I went to James Brown for financial advice. He said, and what he literally told me was, you got at least $1 million? He said, yeah, I got more than that. He said, take $1 million out the bank and bury it in your backyard. He said, that was the financial advice he gave him. He was like, and he said, in that moment, I realized like, he said it was two people sitting met with Larry Holmes and James Brown. Larry Holmes' advice was, just don't forget where you came from. He's like, but I'm looking for financial advice. He said, James Brown was like, take $1 million out, bury it in your yard so the government can't take your money. Make a long story short, what he was saying is, in that space, he realized, yo, I have nobody to really talk to. Yeah. Right? And he was saying how it's different now. A lot of these people come talk to him or other people, but back then he had no one he could really confide or talk to get solid advice on what to do from a finance standpoint. Anyway, you may think about that when you said that. But let's get to Don's comment. Don says that could be based on their business model. I could think of a reason I have to buy from Target.
Okay.
Maybe saying I can't think of a reason. Maybe he's saying that I can't. I don't know if he's saying can or can't. So Dave says black people can't afford to boycott Walmart, especially in southern cities. That's absolutely true as well. I mean,
good point. Good point.
But that's what I'm saying. Walmart is different than Target in that way. There's certain full economies in certain full towns that
revolve around Walmart.
Yeah, it's the be all end all. So Lorraine says, I have to agree to disagree with y'all on this subject because we all can find data to feed whatever narrative we believe, just like the KKK uses the Bible to spew his hate. I think it's a little bit different, though, because when the KKK uses the Bible, they're not using objective numbers. The difference between this and what the KKK does is they're giving their opinion. They're not giving – what I'm talking about is actual dollars and cents. If we look at the dollars and cents that Target is making, that's not my opinion, right? That's not my opinion. And when I compare that to, say, what Walmart is making or what their competitors are dealing with in terms of foot traffic, those are actual numbers. I'm not saying my opinion is – Target is making X. No, the data says that Target is making X amount of dollars. So the fact of the matter is we don't have enough money to really move the needle when it comes to a Target. I'm not saying that the boycott shouldn't happen or there isn't value in them. So I don't want to get that misconstrued.
Right.
I think there is value in doing this. And I do think that we probably should do this, right? But for a different reason. But to think that we can have the effect that some people are saying we have, I think is kind of crazy when you look at what the numbers are actually saying.
I don't think we should do it, but I would love to hear why you feel we should do it, Jimmy.
Because I feel like every opportunity that we have to organize in any fashion should be taken. I don't care if we're organizing to go to an AAU tournament, right? Because this is just a practice to me in figuring out how to work together. I think working together is the ultimate cheat code. And it's almost like just getting a rep. It's like, if I'm practicing something, I just want to get as many reps in as possible. So this is just
why I'm so willing to work with people because I played sports my whole life. Mm-hmm. It's organizing around something to do. It's because when I was young, my grandmother organized us to do block cleanups, and we had to do all of this other stuff, right? It's because I was in the military, and we got a lot of things done because we were organized to do those things. Right. So I've been in a lot of spaces where people are organized, and organization is everything.
I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, so the reason why I don't think it's a good use of time is because your average logical thinker just popped in. She says, we have to be strategic in what industries and what stores especially we boycott. I think we have to be strategic about everything we do. And yes, the reps are good, but we can't fight on every front. Because we only have a certain amount of bullets. We only got a certain amount of energy. Energy is not infinite. It is finite. And we have to be really, really intentional about what we do. That's just my opinion.
So Ms. Melly says Target's revenue is down, and we don't know the demographics of those spending online. That's all true, but they're not down any different than other retailers based upon our current climate in the economy, right?
Is it material? Like, that's the question. Like, is it really material them being down?
But here's the fact, that the absolute fact in all this is the amount of spendable dollars we have as a community cannot impact them because of the scale that they operate at. And if we all decided tomorrow that we're never going to Target, right, it may have a small impact, but nothing that Target still will be $1 billion business. And the point that Kamari was making is, if that's the case, well, let's take whatever power we do have, right? Even though we know that the numbers they give us are lies, whatever we have, and focus on doing our own things, because there's nothing we really can do to Target at this point, right? And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do these things, but it's just like, it's to me, it's just pure math. We don't have enough buying power, right? Now we can harm their brand, which is why they'll do things to, kind of like pacify us in that way. But are we? Is the meetings they have? Is it going to be any changes at the C-suite level? Is it going to be any anything that really materially comes from it? Nothing that we've seen thus far. But the idea is, we don't really have the resources to make the dent that we think that we have. That's all I'm saying. So revenue could be down, but revenue could be down just based on the economy. I mean, revenue is down for their competitors who don't have the same boycott. We're not boycotting a lot of their other competitors who have the same problem with revenue and the same problem with foot traffic, is what I'm saying.
I mean, it's so, to me, right?
I gotta go, fellas.
Okay, all right, cool. Be safe, brother. What would happen if we drove $1 billion away from Target? What would happen? Would that really impact them? Now, juxtapose that to what would happen if we drove $1 billion to Black-owned businesses? Would that really help Black businesses? Would that help the Black community? Which one has a greater impact? And I think that's what we have to really start concentrating on. What's going to have the greatest impact in the amount of time that we have with the efforts that we are committed to?
I'm looking at Don's comment. I don't know if Don was making a double entendre. I say in their board of directors. Let's see. I'm going to see Target's. Yeah. Thing about board of directors, I think that we definitely need representation in C-suites in a lot of these companies, but we need the right people in those positions too, though.
But let's be clear: C-suite and board of directors are not the same.
No, they're not. Management. So it's management. You're right.
But and I'm only saying that because I don't want to confuse. I know you understand the difference, but I don't know who's watching, and if they understand the difference.
Yeah. So I'm looking at. Hold up. You said it's diverse. That's not what I'm seeing. I see a couple folks on there, like special advisor to the chairman. Yeah, I don't see a lot. Not in the positions that matter, dog. Like, I guess it depends upon how you look at it. They do have several ladies on their board. No ladies, no women of color. I see though. Got a couple brothers on here. But again, you also need the right people. So that to me is like, but I really just think to me, everything in life is a math equation. You know what I'm saying? That's to me, everything to me is a math equation. So what does the math say? Does the math say we can actually move the needle? But to your point, what you're talking about is our own. If we focus on our own, this becomes a non-issue, right? And a lot of times I think we spend too many times trying to, this is going to lead me to a whole other conversation. Let me see this the right way.
Come on, man. All
right, let's talk then. We spend too much time trying to get people to care about us or to love us, right? It's like, if they tell you they don't love you, then let's just move on, right? It's almost like you be in a relationship where someone's abusing you and you're like, no, but I need you to love me. Like, just move on. Like, and that's how we got to treat some of these folks. Like, we be wanting, like, come on, man.
Everybody wants love, man.
No, man, but let's love ourselves. Let's love ourselves and do our own things, man. All
right, so this is the board of directors. So I wanted to put it up so we can visualize it together.
That's the gentleman they were saying is in the hot water right there.
Right. A lot of vanilla.
It's like when Kamari go get his hot chocolate right now. They put two brothers at the very bottom of the page. It's like, do the right thing, man. Why ain't no brothers on the wall?
And so, all right, let's twist. Would it be better for us to boycott for more inclusion on the board instead of no, really?
Because my thing is this, though. Again, I'm not against.
I didn't let me finish the thought. Would it be better to boycott and force for better inclusion on the board and the C-suite? I mean, it could still be viewed as a DEI rollback, but Those are at least positions of powers. That's measurable. I don't know I forget what it was. They wanted Target to lose. Damn, I looked it up before. Like 12 billion or something like that. I don't know that happened.
Man, it's a dirty game too. I was talking to a gentleman who's runs a big business in our city, right? And he was talking about like kind of the same thing he was dealing with, like in terms of boycotts and things like that from certain communities within Philadelphia. And he was saying the people that organized it, all he had to do was make a donation to their favorite charity, and now they're his best friend and give him anything he wants, right?
And they're gone.
And they're gone. They're gone. And the people that they were supposedly representing didn't get any of that. And he was like, because I was asking him for his opinion in terms of like moving into the development space. I'm dealing with like, a lot of politics. And he was like, look, this is how you do it. Find who runs the CDC, make a donation to their favorite charity, and they're your best friends. But I'm like, but no, that doesn't help the people. He was like, they don't care to help the people, right?
Well, what you're doing is looking to help the people, though.
Yeah,
but sometimes we do have to play that game. It's all a game.
It is a game, but I'm saying that to say, and I'm not talking about the people running this specific boycott because I don't know their intentions. I don't know them personally. But what I'm saying, a lot of times with this stuff, and this is why I said you have to have the right people on the board. We put people in positions for them to empower themselves, and not overall. Nothing fundamentally changes with us as a people. So I think your original point that you made is the strongest point. If we just focus on listen, man, Black love is the answer to all this, man. We focus on ourselves, then this won't even be an issue. We won't even care about this. But we need to really understand the power of the power of a dollar. To quote Curtis Jackson, the power of a dollar, man. Like it's power behind that. But let's get to the comments though, man.
All right, I got it. I'm pulling them up right now. All right, so I'm not sure what this is. We need a separation for Black people. No more police, teachers, bosses, politicians, etc. Let's do it. But again, that's going to take love. That's going to take organization. That's going to take cooperation. That's going to take us getting
sacrifice.
Yep. And I don't know if people are really serious about that. And so it's funny. I'm not going to say any names, but me and Jimmy had a great conversation about our sister Tracy. And the conversation came up about egos and wanting to put aside egos because Tracy really was about community and everything she did. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were not willing to put aside their ego for the greater good because they personally wanted to be top shotter. And a lot of times we got to really analyze that. Look at that. Listen, everybody wants to be loved, but at the end of the day, if we all get love versus you getting love, what's the better thing?
Hey, man, listen, what did Treach say in Jason's lyric? Man, we got too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Correct. All right, your average logical thinker says, based on you guys' professional and intellectual opinion, does the Black community have trillions in buying power every year, as Dr. Claude Anderson says? Yes and no. It's a complicated thing. It's very nuanced. And when the numbers come up, they often include credit. But you don't know who's actually has access to that credit and using that credit. But Black people as a whole do not generate in earnings and income. What is it, 1.6 or 1.8 trillion dollars?
My answer to that question, your average logical thinker,
say no.
Absolutely not. And I think that is a weapon that is used against us. Because when you actually break down those numbers and look at all the studies, and I can show you all the different studies that people use to base that 1.6 trillion on, is all baloney. Is poppycock. Is trash. And what they do is they use that as a tool against us to say, you guys have $2 trillion of spending power, so you should be supporting your own and doing this. And it's like, well, we really don't even have that spending power. So it's actually used against us. Some people say
that's one way to look at it.
That is how I look at it, because I hear so many of our folks saying that, like, if we just spend what I'm like, we don't even have the bread to do that. Like, again, there are a lot of us that do well, right? I'm not gonna lie, there are some of us do well, but that is a facade for the most part. If we're talking about us as a collective, I'm talking about as a collective, the numbers will actually depress you if you actually read through the actual numbers and not really what the hyperbole is about this spending power. By the way, recommend the book. The Myth of Black Buying Power, right? By Dr. Jared Ball is an excellent read. But the whole book is really about breaking down the myth of the Black buying power. It's an excellent read, right? Do I agree 100% with a lot of the things that he says in terms of how you feel? No, not at all. But I think that his analysis of Black buying power is spot on in terms of how it's used against us and how it's propagated in media. And I think that we've really got to not, because what it does a lot of times I see is it makes us attack ourselves. Instead of organizing in a way that we need to organize to get real collective power, we start attacking ourselves. We start having pound cake speeches about you buy too many Jordans, and if you just stop buying Jordans, you do this. And it's like, we don't even make up the majority of people buying Jordans. That's a lie too. So, but I think it's an excellent read. But to answer your question, I would say no, flat out no.
So this is why I say it requires nuance. And so Jimmy and I just did a show literally less than an hour ago talking about qualitative and quantitative analysis, right? So when you look at the qualitative things of that quote unquote saying, to me, what I get from it, the story that it tells is we are not using every possible tool to combat our oppression. Jimmy always says he likes my phrase when I say our dollars are our bullets and our spending is our gun. And we have to be really, really intentional about where we aim our gun and where we fire our bullets. Every dollar that we spend, it matters. And so when we spend with non-Black folks or non-ally folks, it is damaging to our community. So because we're using a resource that's not going to our overall community. And I know this might be a little bit woo-woo and it might be too in the nuance, but we have to take every possible resource we have to fight for equality, getting on par economically, all of it. And so that's what I get from that study. Is it total? Is it absolute? No, it's not. It's not at all. And there's a lot of flaws in it. And I'm not down with the pound cake thing because that's what Jimmy's going to say next.
No, what I'm saying is that's not how that data is used, though. You're taking what you took from it is not what how people use it.
No, but that's what I get from it. Right?
I get you.
So to me, that is how the data is used. Again, it all depends on how you look at it. For example, we spend a lot of time arguing the merits of capitalism versus socialism. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, do we have resources? And what's the best way to get resources? Forget capitalism, forget socialism, forget all the isms. What are we going to do? And I don't see how any of that is a good use of time because it doesn't generate any actionable items. Now that might trigger Jimmy when I say that.
No, it's not going to trigger me. It's just that I think that so again, I think that's also nuance. I think sometimes having the conversations,
it's all nuance. It's all nuance.
It does have value, right? Because you could change someone's way of thinking and the way they see the world. Because a lot of times we believe, and again, we understand that in order to change this overall system, it's going to have bloodshed and sacrifice that most of us aren't willing to make. But I think that it's important to always critique the system. Even if we understand this is a system that we live in and we have to operate in, I think it's important to always critique it because I think a lot of learning happens there and a lot of us can change the way we see the world. Most of the people watching this now, and there's a lot of folks are watching this live, salute to you. We definitely appreciate it. But I'm pretty sure the way you see the world, the way you see Black wealth, the way you see us, Black power, whatever you want to call it within this country has changed as you developed. And you hear more conversations, you hear more debate, you hear more people challenging the system, you do more reading, the way you see the world changes. So I think those conversations have a little bit of value. Now, the idea of actionable items is absolutely important because, I have a huge problem with people that do nothing but talk and absolutely do nothing. I don't like keyboard. I don't like the keyboard warriors, right? We were talking about that as we were in the community this week serving, right? I was saying that a lot of people complain to me, but I don't see them here. Now, there are people that showed up. Well, me and Kamari did the thing at this past week at the Juvenile Justice Center. There were other brothers there who volunteered their time, energy, effort. Salute to all those brothers. When we did the career day, there were other people there volunteering their time from all walks of life. So there are people that are on the front lines, but there are a lot of people that aren't. They're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, just complaining about things and not doing anything. So actionable items are important, but conversations are also important.
You can't have action without conversation.
What's the Jay-Z line, man? Everybody got a part to play. Back to yours, right?
That's right.
So everybody has a part to play, there are fights that I don't take on because it's not my expertise, but it doesn't mean that the fight shouldn't happen. Even how I see the boycott, I think there's some sort of, it's a rep in terms of organizing. That's not my thing. I don't do it, but I see value in it, right? But I think that I need to use the skills, knowledge, and ability that I have to serve in a way that I can. Like you can use your skills, knowledge, and ability to serve you way you can. You know what I mean? When you start talking about taxes and all that, I got to fall back. That's not my thing. So I say that
necessarily because you pay taxes and you have a perspective on it and you don't like it.
I have a perspective, but I don't have the expertise that you have in that space. You spent way more hours than I have. So what I'm saying is all of us have some sort of thing that we can contribute. Like that's what we need to focus on is how we contribute to the overall.
I 1000% agree with that. But going to Don's question. So Don says no. When I asked the question, should the boycott be about getting more diversity on the board of directors? So Don says no, because if you're in those positions, you care about the numbers and the color is green. So Don, I disagree. And there is quantitative data to show that. Here's an example. Melanie Hopkins, even though I don't think she gets the credit she deserves, Melanie Hopkins, I don't know about the time, but she was on the board of Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And when they had the issue with Starbucks here in Philly, she was part of the ones who was able to generate that settlement, came to Philly, did some things. Yes, it helped Starbucks bottom line. I'm not obtuse. I'm not going to overlook.
Don't start me, man. Don't start me because, you know.
Don't start. Can I finish? Can I finish? Go ahead. So, and that, there was a sister there. Had it been no sister there, those brothers wouldn't have got nothing. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. It depends upon how much they felt their brand was damaged because sometimes
the likelihood.
I don't know. I can't answer that question honestly.
Okay, now you're being obtuse.
I'm not being obtuse.
The likelihood of that happening, it wouldn't have, more than likely.
How can you objectively say that?
Okay, give the percentage. What's the probability of it?
I can't give a percentage. There's nothing to base
at all. Not at all.
Because what you're trying to get me to do is create what's known in the industry as a POMA statistic. I'm not going to.
Oh, that's a fancy word. I don't know about that. Tell us what that is.
POMA, I'm going to tell you exactly what a POMA statistic is, right? When you're trying to tell me to give a percentage and it's not based on anything, that means that I am pulling it out of my ass. That's what POMA stands for.
Pulling out of my ass.
It's a POMA statistic, right? Okay. It's no value there. I'm saying this. Listen, having those positions can matter, right? It can matter. But again, okay. Don's point is also valid, right? Sometimes those settlements and things happen because, you know, the overall green, they're protecting the brand image, right? So I know that she had that position. You know, she did what she did. You know, she went home to her husband and shared the wealth with him. But I digress.
Bozeman St. John did something very similar with Apple and Uber, right? So having Black people in prominent positions matters. Representation matters.
How does that help the overall collective?
You have admitted previously before that we need people in soft spots. No. Because now we're doing this circular thing. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that representation doesn't matter?
It's not what I'm saying at all. I just asked you a question.
Okay, but that's the point I'm making. So
I want to know, how does it help the overall collective?
I just gave you two examples.
Nah.
We can't listen. We can't always help everybody, but we can help those individuals who are in funny situations. That's an actionable item.
So listen, I agree that if we put the right people, that they can help for folks, you know, who are lower on the totem pole, they can pull people up. But I think that it's one little small part of a bigger problem.
Listen, little hinges spring big doors. So I'm only looking for the little things, man. The little things add up.
Shout out to Melanie Hobson and her husband.
Why does that matter? And matter of fact, that's actually kind of disrespectful to her. Because you're no, don't do that. Right. Because you're trying to minimize her impact and her throwness because she's married to a white man. And that doesn't matter.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Why did you bring her husband up?
Because he's famous. That's all.
Because he's white. Come on, if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it.
I didn't say that though. You said that.
Because I call a thing a thing.
I didn't say that.
All right.
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is, For those out there watching, right, you want to talk about supporting a Black-owned company, support Suplmnt, right? Suplmnt makes a quality product, right? It's a bottle on par with some of y'all out there. Y'all got Yeti bottles, y'all got Contigo bottles, you got Arctic bottles. Get you a Suplmnt bottle, man, because Suplmnt is a Black-owned company. That is, by the way, the sponsor of the Black Wealth Rebels. They support us, so I want to make sure we support them. You can go to getsupplement.com to get you a bottle, right? So salute to Suplmnt, a Black-owned company, as we talk about supporting our own.
In actual items and solutions. Yep.
That's an actionable item. Go support Suplmnt. That's an actionable item right there for everybody. You know,
great segue, Jimmy.
Man. Let's get through finals, man. All
right, so your average logical thinker says it's all a game, and I wish black peoples would learn to play like every other race it takes. I agree. All right, Don Johnson says a few people in the C. I guess he's talking about C-suite. Okay.
Did you get this comment back here though? I think we skipped this one way back.
Slow down. I got the comments, Jimmy. Hold on.
Yeah, but can you skip stuff and never go back?
I know, but I'm going with a flow, bro. A few people in the C-suite won't help the masses. Now, let's go back to which one were you talking about, Jimmy?
Jerome's comment. In the South, Walmart is dominant, but just like its first store in Arkansas, we must have incremental growth and strategies. The focus should be Target, but in our business. The focus shouldn't be on Target, but our business growth. Kind of said what you said at the beginning of the show. We focus more on our growth as opposed to withdrawing from certain spaces and building other spaces. I guess that's a simplified way to put it. And I know it takes a lot of sacrifice and effort, but that's what it really encompasses, right? So, focus on growing ours instead of taking away from theirs because, yeah.
All right. So getting back to it. All right. Black separation is going to take trust. We don't trust each other, let alone love each other enough to separate.
Yeah.
All right. Don says no. Most of buying power goes to necessities. It's not disposable income that can be used for wealth building. Great point.
Great point, Don. Great point.
Great point. Excellent point. Y'all some thinkers, man. The rebels are thinkers. I like y'all. Ooh, thank you, gentlemen, for breaking that down. We don't even earn trillions per year to even spend.
No, we don't.
All right, what up, Jiggin? Going on 4 months since the boycott talk, and the results are false. Non-earnings reports of TGT losing amount of dollars. No quantifiable reports of increase in Black business patronage or nothing. I know the Black Business Chamber nationwide was doing something. I'm not sure what they had to report. What up, Erica? By the way, shout out to Erica. Erica shared our last or one of our last broadcasts where we're talking about your average person can become a millionaire. She shared it with her community. Got a lot of great feedback.
Definitely appreciate you for that.
All right. LOL. The Jordan argument wears me out because it's cars that cost $800 to $1,000 a month.
I would listen. There's a point about that. We need to do a whole show on that, man. I was talking to some folks the other day in that space, and I didn't realize the car space. I know a couple of people that sell cars for a living, and they were telling me like some of the things that people are doing to finance cars, and I was like, "No, you got to be kidding me!" They're like, "Look, this is what the numbers say, right?" Again, the numbers.
What's the one they got now? Like the 86-month car loan.
86 months, but because I was wondering, I'm like, yo, I see a lot more people driving things that in the past I didn't necessarily just see on the street. I see a lot more people driving Bentleys. I see more people driving like Maseratis. I remember in the Cosby Show. Please let Dr. Hustle get it, Mr. Rock. Anyway, people driving Maseratis on the street, Aston Martins, and I was talking to him. He was like, listen, because back in the day you couldn't finance those things. You had to have the paper to actually get them, but now you can finance them for 86 months. He was like, yo, he got clients that is out here paying $3,200 a month to drive a Bentley, right? They don't even have their own house. Not saying that having a house is the be all end all, but they're paying $3,200 a month to drive for their car note.
Shout out, Jimmy. Shout out to the Kid Gang. I chauffeured Kia around on my Kid Gang special. It wasn't $3,200 a month. It might not even been $3,200 for the whole daggone thing.
Yo, when I was young boy, $3,200 get you a nice car, nice joint from the auction. You might get an Act Legend or something, but cats is out here paying $3,200 a month to drive these crazy luxury cars, and it's like I didn't realize that people were doing that. But again, what I start thinking about is what makes you want to spend that kind of paper for that kind of car, right? that's where I think the issue is. Like that idea of you need that to have this certain feeling. That feeling that they're going for, that's what we really need to combat. But the card game, and we probably should bring
that. Can we really combat that?
It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult, right? It's gonna be difficult. In the words of the old Kanye, people push a whip just to be like, nigga, you ain't up on this. That's the only reason they want to do it.
So yesterday,
stuck for poor people. You want to look rich to poor people. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I'll share this. So yesterday I was at an event. A friend of mine turned 50. Had every foreign on his lawn, from Lambos to Ferraris to Range Rover trucks. Everybody was enamored by it. Everybody wanted to see it. They wanted to touch it. They wanted to smell it. Some of them wanted to try to drive away in it, but that wasn't happening. And it's just like, wow, I could care less. And I was cool rolling around in my Kia gang special. But it's like, I'm the weirdo. So I get it.
No, but I think that is a problem. But I think we should probably bring a specialist on in that space, because there are people that that work in that space that could talk to that. But she's not wrong. That is a lot of money being just thrown away.
All right, Ms. Mowry says the $2 trillion billion power does not mean discretionary income. It includes the money necessary to live. Facts.
By the way, that's trillion. She said, not billion. You said.
I'm sorry, trillion. My fault. T.
That's how they mess with us. They mess with us with the trillion thing.
All right, getting ready to do a show on Black women returning to Toro van for $35,000.
Renting a Toro van.
Oh, I'm sorry, renting a Toro van for $35,000 for 11 months. It's insane. But did they make money off of it?
But that's not the point, though. So I know people.
No. I got it. But is she renting the Toro van like to service it, like to make money, or just for use?
Got to tune in to Erica's show.
Yep, tune in to Erica's show. I'll tune into that. Target losing money isn't us. It's the overall economy for lower 50% right now.
There we go. Overall economy.
All right, Jigga says Black folks better stop expecting everybody to care about Black issues. Oh, that's a bar. That's a bar.
That's what I was trying to say. You said it better than me, Jamil. Like, you said it way better than me, because I wanted to pontificate it. But that's one sentence.
Yep, that's it. That's it. It's hella clutch while being sympathetic to the causes and issues of others. Kumbayaism is a fundamental flaw of ours, but it's funny. A lot of people use the word kumbaya wrong. I just got educated on that recently.
Okay, put us down.
All right, it took Osmond, not just a Black person. That's true. I get exactly what you're saying, because Hobson is special in her own regard. She's bringing that wealth back to the community.
Shout out to my brother Don, yo. Don is hilarious.
You know what, Erica? I think there's a correlation. So Erica says the bigger Jimmy curls, the wilder the comments. The curl, that's his power. He's like Samson.
I'm crazy right now. I had my hoodie on this morning as Ozzy. I mean, so but.
What up, Mark? Mark says never understood how you could pay a car note over $500 ever.
He said ever.
Ever. Listen, I mean, if you got it like that, you got it like that. It is what it is. But before we run, I want to know, what do you all think about the Target boycott? Should they keep going? Is it on track? Should they change course? Should they pivot? Maybe they should do something different. I think they should do something different. But I want to know what everyone else do.
What's the opposite of a boycott? Like where you actually support a place instead of boycotting, everybody goes there.
A cash mob?
We call it a cash mob, right? But I'm saying, like, you got to come up with a new term for it.
We need to coin our own term for it.
Yeah, I saw cash mob being used yesterday. I think the AKAs did it, and they called it a cash mob with a K.
Well,
no, it was the Kappas. The Kappas did one.
Yeah, but the group supported that. IB Big supported that. So
I'm not mad at that. Listen, I'm not mad at that
either.
Listen, I support all cash mobs, right? Even though they're not ours. Like, even the ones locally that, because there's a lot of cash mobs locally that I know they stole our sauce, and it's okay, because for me, cash mobs should be happening all across the nation every weekend. So I support all of them. I was just saying there has to be an opposite of a boycott, like whatever that word is. Cookie. Shout out to Cookie. Cookie's back in the village. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate the support, Cookie. I just saw someone getting their Ford truck repossessed and she shared she was paying $6.99 a month. I almost passed out. I'll stick with my 2008 Mustang, thank you. I told her your credit must not be good. There's too many people out here teaching how to build credit to be in that situation. Other part people leave out too is $6.99 probably was the car though. What's her insurance?
And what's the maintenance?
People also factor that in. Maintenance. Yeah, man.
One thing I always say, my dad always, this is the one thing that impressed upon me. If you're going to buy a car, you got to be able to replace all the tires on the car. That's like a benchmark of whether you should get the car or not. And then when I see people, you know, they get a BMW and they complain about the tires or getting brakes all the way around. Well, you should have knew that going into it.
I've had a German vehicle before, and first time I took it to get brakes,
I got a heart attack.
Dog, I almost regurgitated right there in the dealership. And I stopped buying them. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm cool on that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cool on that. It looks cool, feels good and all that, but nah, you know what I'm saying? Give my little Japanese special. You know
I think I'm permanently in the Kia car gang now, or Japanese car gang. One of them.
I'm permanently in my gang too, but you know, it's not Kia.
No, I said Korean. You know what I didn't say? I said Korean. I meant to say Korean. So I don't care if it's Korean or Japanese. That's where I'll probably be. Now, if I hit the lotto and somebody gave me $1 million, because Jimmy loves to ask the youth, what would you do if somebody gave you $1 million? And my answer would not be getting the pack and supplying the block, because of those are some of the answers we got.
Yo, listen, y'all. We were in a youth study. It's called the Juvenile Justice Center. And one of the questions I always ask the kids: if I give you $1 million right now, what would you do with it? I like to see what their answers are, right? So a lot of kids had great comments. I'm going to take care of my mom. I'm going to, put my sister through college. And the one young boy was like, I'm putting my whole block on. Everybody getting, work, and they getting weapons. Crazy part.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
What he said? What was his words?
I'm getting him a pack, and I'm getting him a strap.
A pack and a strap. Yeah, he definitely said that. But shout out to him, man. Like, he was a smart young boy, man.
No, they were all geniuses.
Yeah, hopefully he was dead serious too. That was the other part. So hopefully he gets his, he spends his time wisely and gets right. But that was absolutely an answer. But if I do that, I'm not driving at all. That's just what it's going to be. I'm going to get me a Toyota Sienna.
But listen, I said $1 million. So
I'm going to get a Toyota Sienna that's paid for and get me a driver. I'm going to ride around, have somebody drive.
Ain't enough to have a driver. You ain't giving him no benefits.
What you mean?
$1 million? Man, that ain't enough for the benefits.
First of all, my Sienna going to cost like 25 bands, right? So after that, I'm going to have a bunch of money left.
So what's his wages?
So here's the thing about that. Here's what you're forgetting. If I had a driver, that opens me up to be able to do a lot more, to make more revenue, to be able to.
But I'm asking you, what his wages? Is he going to be full-time driver? Is he going to be an independent contractor? What we doing?
Me a full-time driver.
Okay, so then you got to give him benefits, 401k, health.
Yeah, all that.
Okay. So how many years you going to have him for? I think you're going to need more than $1 million.
Well, no, he's going to help me generate more income to pay.
I got you. Okay. So you're going to take that $1 million. The first investment you're going to do is get a driver, and that'll help you make another 10, another 100 million.
Honestly, though, and thinking about it, I probably wouldn't get no driver. I ain't gonna lie. That's just thinking about it. Because with that kind of bread, I'm not. Well, again, that's not even a lot of money. Well, that's all relative. But what I'm saying is, with that kind of paper, though, like, I'm not going to get a driver because I'm probably going to leave the house less. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaving the house less.
Now, Miss Maui says the only fun car I want is that Badu SUV. That thing does look nice. The Chinese car, that thing does life, and it's cheap, y'all. But
what's the price?
I think I saw 30 or 40,000.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta go. Don't quote that in stone. I gotta go back and look.
So
how much is it, Miss Maui? How much is it, Lorraine?
One of the things about getting older, and like you take and invest in like your house, and I don't mean like building it up. I'm talking about putting the things you like in there. Is like I enjoy my house. I love not leaving the house. So I probably would leave the house even less.
All right, Jim. So we're not gonna cook on it today, but there's a clip I gotta show you with Kanye, with Cameron talking to Kanye. And if y'all don't know, Jim loves Cameron. So we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about that. Right. Okay, 35,000. Now is that the base? Is that the base or is that fully loaded?
I look this up. Let me see.
Yeah, but listen, it ain't never coming to the United States. I don't think it's coming to the United States.
We'll call to get it shipped over here.
All right, like I said, we have bigger fish to fry. Project 2025 in full effect. That's a fact. People thought Project 2025 was a hoax, but it's not. Oh, so it's 35K fully loaded. Wow. That's nice. All right, y'all. So don't want to kill y'all with what our thoughts are of the boycott, of the Target boycott. But let us know what you think. Throw it in the chat. And we will be back soon. We'll be back Wednesday, if not sooner.
Make sure you join the village, because before we come, we will be back on Wednesday. Wednesday is Wealthy Wednesdays. We will be here, but before then, we will be dropping some content in the village. So if you're in the village, just go to blackwealthrebels.com. There's a free tier. Join the village. Also support our sponsor, Suplmnt. Go to getsupplement.com. That's GETSUPLMNT. Getsupplement.com. Get your quality bottle. That's our sponsor. But if you're in the village, like I said, we got some other content coming. You'll see, Joe. Jimmy, I saw in my memories today where BTC hit 3K for the first time in 17, and I own 1.5 BTC at the time.
Jamel, let me hold something.
Oh, he said, if I only knew what I know, it could tell myself to hold before I sold.
Oh, damn.
That's the memories, boy. The memories, boy. But
listen,
yeah, man. So
being a Monday morning quarterback can make you a millionaire, boy.
Yeah, bro. You be sitting on a nice piece of change, nice six figgy bag just in the one space. Yeah. But make sure to join the village. Go to blackwealthrebels.com. Like I said, there is a free tier. We have a lot of content coming that's only going to be in the village. It's not going to be on YouTube. It's not going to be because Kamari be talking wild sometimes. So we got to put it behind there. So Kamari can really express himself.
Express yourself.
We love y'all. Please stay safe, and we will be back on YouTube on Wednesday.
Until the next time. See y'all later.
Love y'all. Peace.